Hello, world. Welcome to episode 158 of the Jimmy Canz Show. This is a Timelines special March Madness edition. All right. Everyone, get your brackets ready. We're talking 64 tag teams, and we are going to discuss who should be on top, in my opinion, obviously. All right. So, to kick this one off, before I get going, here's the criteria that I used. Four divisions, 16 teams in each. To get into your bracket, you must have held a major tag title in that division. The four divisions are WWF slash WWF slash WWE, whatever you're going to call that company, NWA, Proviso, Jim Crockett Promotion, Mid Atlantic, Georgia Championship Wrestling kind of division slash WCW, an AEW slash ROH division, and an ECW slash TNA Impact, TNA, yada yada, Global Force, whatever you want to call the company of many names. So by major, uh, that means like, the US tag title in the NWA would not qualify you, nor will like the NXT tag title qualify a team for this one. And, like we've got decades of history here, so many great teams. Obviously, um, you know, can't use everybody. Also, another criteria on this is an individual can't be represented in multiple different teams. So, that kind of is why certain teams may not be included in this because I'm using uh, a duo that uses one of those members in another team. So, for example, the APA. All right, Ron Simmons and Bradshaw. Uh, I could not use the APA and then use Doom later because Ron Simmons was a member of Doom. Uh, I could not use the APA and then use the new Blackjacks. I wouldn't use the new Blackjacks anyway. No offense to Barry Windham or Bradshaw, but that team was not great. Anyway, when doing this, it was um, a challenge, obviously, because I had a lot of great teams over many years. To get as many good quality teams uh, onto the overall tournament bracket as possible. There were some teams that I might be using not where they really are most well known or most, made their biggest impact, but they qualify for that particular bracket. I did that to get as many teams in as possible. Obviously, as an example, like the Nasty Boys. All right, they were WWF Tag Champions and WCW Tag Champions. All right, if I put them in the WWF bracket, there's a team I have to leave out. So, spoiler, I had to move them over to the WCW bracket. Same thing like with the Hardys. All right. Hardys held tag titles in multiples. Dudley's held tag team titles in multiples. Uh, so, I had to kind of move some teams around to get as many good quality teams in there to make as many interesting matchups, especially in later rounds as possible. So, if you don't see as I go through the representatives of each bracket, if I don't mention a team in a particular bracket, uh, don't panic. They're probably coming. Um, so that being said, before I get going, a few honorable mentions. Again, like I said, couldn't fit everybody in. Some of these teams honorable mention because they didn't hit the qualification of the major title. Some of these are honorable mention because an individual on that team is a representing another team, and some of these are honorable mention just simply because I couldn't fit everybody. The original Blackjacks, Lanza and Mulligan, phenomenal team, Hall of Famers. Uh, Also, Mr. Fuji, whether it be with Professor Tanaka or Mr. Fuji with Mr. Saito, multiple time tag champs, the Strongbows, Chief J Strongbow, Jules Strongbow, um, the British Bulldogs, the Head Shrinkers, aforementioned APA, America's Most Wanted, Owen and Jeff Jarrett, Owen and Yoko, the Von Erichs. Their success really only in world class. I'm not including world class in this one, but a phenomenal, family dynasty. Team Hell No, Fabulous Rougeau Brothers, Chronic, the Russians, for those of you unfamiliar, that was the Koloffs, the Russian Bear, the Russian Nightmare, as well as Crusher Khrushchev, uh, Danny Doring and Roadkill, Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov, U.S. Express, Barry Windham, Mike Rotundo, The Bar, uh, Billy and Chuck, Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, Jericho, Smoking Guns, AOP. AOP, here's a team that, if this was being done in 5 years, might actually make the cut. They're just not tenured enough compared to some of the other teams that are included in this thing. Natural Disasters, Soul Patrol, uh, first African American tag team champions, but not a lengthy run. Strike Force, great team. DIY, Ciampa and Gargano, great team. Right now, only NXT tag champions, so couldn't make the list. Bludgeon Brothers, Rowan and Harper, great team. Basham Brothers, the Hooligans. Those of you might not remember who that was. It was Paul London and Brian Kendrick. Held those original incarnations of the Blue Brand tag straps for a very lengthy time. Young Pistols, another great team, only U.S. tag champs. The Jersey Triad, the Colossal Connection, the Rockers. Sorry, you didn't make the cut. That title reign didn't count. The Bushwhackers, again, Hall of Fame tag team, but no major title in any of the divisions that we're representing here. Powers of Pain, again, another phenomenal tag team, but not holding major title. So let us now kind of get into who's going to be in each bracket. So we'll kick it off. We'll start off with the let's start it off with the TNA Impact ECW bracket. Why don't we? And our first team out of the gate will be Beer Money. All right. They were, Bobby Roode and the Cowboy James Storm, 5-time TNA tag champions. Storm held the NWA tag belts under the TNA umbrella prior as part of the honorable mention America's Most Wanted team that I mentioned. That was with Wildcat Chris Harris. Roode also held TNA tag titles with Austin Aries. NWA tag belts under the TNA umbrella with Eric Young. Storm held the TNA tag belts 2 other times as well. Once with Gunner, once with Abyss. Both men are former TNA World Champions. Roode went on to WWE, holding gold in NXT in the main roster, including tag title and U.S. title runs. Storm held various titles in recent years in the NWA as well. So, Beer Money had to be represented here. And then when we actually get into the brackets in terms of seeding, it was random, guys. To try and quantify who should be top seed and this and that, it was too difficult to do. So I just was random. So there's that. Next up, the team of Decay. All right. Now the original Decay was Crazy Steve and Rosemary, along with Abyss. They flipped things on their heads. All right. In terms of the tag team picture, they only one-time TNA tag champs, but no pun intended, they did make an impact. Abyss's career was long, honors many. Steve's still going in TNA. He's the current digital media champ at the time of this recording, at least. Steve went on to team with Black Taurus, the kind of form a new version of Decay after Biss's retirement. Uh, and the current iteration of Decay is actually a female duo of Rosemary and Havoc, who are kind of taking the Decay banner. This is a unique one. I think this is the first time that a team, group, faction, whatever you want to, kind of started as one and then morphed into another. Like I said, this was a male duo, and then a different male duo, and now it's a female duo. So, but Decay had to include them in there. Phenomenal group. I love their theme song too, by the way. Next up, it's Bubba Ray and Devon. It's those damn Dudleys. Um, be it the original ECW, WWE, TNA, New Japan, they have had success everywhere they have been. 8-time ECW tag champs, 9-time champs in the WWE, with a 10th as a WCW champ in WWE. NWA champs under the TNA umbrella, 2-time TNA tag champs, 2-time IWGP tag champs, multiple Hall of Famers as well. Oh, my brother, testify and get the tables. Next up, it is the Eliminators. That was the tandem of Saturn and Cronus. They were 3 times ECW tag champs. Honestly, probably could have been more. Saturn had not left for WCW to pursue a singles career. These two were tough as nails. They could work. Phenomenal team. Kronos had another tag title reign in him as part of what was it? The Gangstonators with New Jack. It was half of the Gangsters and half of the Eliminators. So that was an interesting one there too. But great team. Saturn went on to have a lot of success in WCW, holding the television title amongst tag reigns, and went on to WWE. Fell on tough times in recent years. Seems to be getting his life back together, thankfully. Suffering from some complications, apparently from CTE. Those chair shots over the years. It's a good thing that we know more nowadays, so more of these guys don't suffer. But anyway, next up, we will have the aforementioned Gangstas, and that was the team of New Jack and Mustafa. They were 2-time ECW tag champs. And let's be honest, New Jack, pushed the envelope so many times in his career. They were, let's just say, memorable to say the least. Couldn't have an ECW bracket without the Gangstas. Next up, the Good Brothers, the Machine Gun Carl Anderson and Big LG Doc Luke Gallows. One of those teams that could go in the WWE bracket too. Like I said, I had to pick certain things here, but they are 3-time Impact tag champs, 3-time IWGP tag champs, 2-time Raw tag champs, and who knows, maybe soon to be NXT tag champs as well. Too sweet me, broski. You guys are great. And then, as you see, I have been mentioning, some IWGP stuff here. Again, there's not an IWGP bracket, but holding those belts adds to your resume. New Japan is very respected promotion. So, I will be using some other promotions on teams' resumes, so to speak. Doesn't qualify them for anything, but it adds to a resume. So, next up will be Matt and Jeff, the Hardy Boys. All right. I know most of the success, probably most well known, is for WWE guys, but that WWE bracket is stacked, guys. So I had to move some teams around, so like the Dudleys and the Good Brothers. I had to kind of, move the Hardys around. Except I'm trying to get as many teams in here as possible, trying to get as many quality matchups as possible. So, uh, anyway, they were two-time TNA tag champs. They held tag gold in WWE 9 times, with one being, the WCW run under the WWE umbrella. They were one-time Ring of Honor tag champs. Both men have multiple singles titles under their belts as well, and they're still going today as members of AEW. So hopefully Jeff keeps these, his demons in check, and the Hardys are around for many years to come. So after the Hardys, we will bring up the Impact players. That was just incredible, and Lance Storm with Don Marie, of course. They also normally had Jason with them. To a shooting star so much of a team, as they were not together long, but they burned bright and solid, strong run while they were together. This duo pretty much ended because, like Saturn, Lance Storm left ECW for WCW. But in their time, they held those ECW tag titles 2 times. Storm, like I said, went on to WCW. In WCW, he held the US title, Cruiserweight title, and Hardcore titles, and he actually held them all at the same time. Then went on to have great success in the WWE as well. Tag title runs there, Intercontinental title run. Phenomenal career. Incredible. Once the team broke up, went on to become ECW World Champion as well. So great team. Like I said, the Impact players definitely made an impact. After that, we will have the Latin American Exchange, or LAX. Now, there have been a few forms of LAX, but for the purposes of this, I'm talking about the version of Santana and Ortiz. All right. This is a version that was 4-time Impact Tag Champs, and they actually unified the Impact and Global Force tag titles during, let's say, a very chaotic period in the company. Proud, powerful, and a shame that they're no longer teaming, to be honest with you. This is a duo that I thought would have success for many, many years. I mean, I know a lot of duos break up because guys want to go on and have singles careers, but I thought there was still meat on the bone here. Who knows? Maybe it comes back together again. Next up, I mean, can't have a TNA bracket without these guys: the Motor City Machine Guns, Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin, 3-time Impact Tag Champions, 1-time IWGP Junior Tag Champs, 1-time Ring of Honor Tag Champs, 1-time New Japan Strong Tag Champs, not to mention the singles titles. Both men have had the X Division title, both men TNA World Champs as well. I mean, the Machine Guns are one of those underrated teams, in my opinion. I think at the peak, go with anybody in the ring. So let's see who else we got now. The North, another great team. All Ego, Ethan Page, Josh Alexander. This Canadian duo, 2-time Impact Tag Champs with one reign lasting 380 days. At this point, Page is currently in AEW. Alexander still with TNA as a one-time X Division champion and a two-time Impact World champion as well. Again, this is another one of those ones where you can't have a bracket uh, representing TNA slash Impact and not include these guys. This next one might be a little controversial for some, but felt they needed to be included nonetheless. OVE or Ohio versus Everything. That was the duo of uh, the Chris brothers, Jake and Dave. Only one time Impact Tag Champs with multiple indie tag runs as well during their time together. Made a real name in the hardcore scene, but the team ended when Dave was let go due to some, let's just say, sexual assault allegations. I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to open a can of worms there. But, they are another one of those teams that kind of flip things on their head a little bit. And it's just unfortunate when individuals don't know when they have a good thing. And also, in not just their career, but in their life. And they mistreat individuals. And it's a sad thing to see. Uh, Hopefully, people get their lives together. I'll just leave it at that. Next up, again, this is a Impact slash ECW one, and how can we have an ECW one without these guys? Uh, it's the Public Enemy, Flyboy Rocco Rock, and Johnny Grunge. These two were just energy and fun. Four-time ECW tag champs, also captured the WCW tag titles as well as one-time NWA tag champs. Both of these men gone way too soon. Lottie dotty dotty, we like to potty. Rest in peace, fellas. Next up, suicidal, genocidal, homicidal, Sabu, and his tag team partner, Mr. Monday Night, Mr. PPV, a Hall of Famer. Say it with me, everybody. Rob Van Dam. They were two-time ECW tag champs, and let's face it, put on some insane matches. Sabu was also a former two-time ECW champion, one-time ECW TV champ. RVD was, let's face it, the ECW TV champ with a reign of 700 days. That was only ended due to a legit injury, legit broken leg, broken ankle, I think it was, if I'm remembering right. It was an ECW world champ, as well as a WWE champ. Also held IC gold and WWE tag gold as well. Hall of Famer. Then next, the reluctant duo of the innovator of violence, Tommy Dreamer, and Raven. Enemies turned partners. I mean, honestly, one of, if not the greatest feuds in the history of ECW. They ended up tag champs is crazy, but it was done in a great shock moment as they won the belts on ECW's TNN debut when Raven shockingly returned to ECW after a run in WCW and came out and won the belts, making him and Dreamer very reluctant partners, so to speak. But yeah, had to put them in the brackets here, guys. Next up is Violent by Design. Closing out this bracket. Two-time Impact Tag Champs faction that consisted of Eric Young, Rhino, Diener, and Joe Doring, a faction that had several iterations as well, and a name change. But it's this quote unquote original version, more or less, that I'm going to include in the bracket here. So that is the Impact representative, Impact ECW / representatives. Now we'll go on to the NWA / WCW bracket, and we'll kick that one off with the Horsemen, specifically the version of Tully Blanchard and the Enforcer AA, Arn Anderson. I mean, I know there's been a lot of different horsemen that have tagged together, but you got to have Tully and Arn. They were two-time NWA tag champs, as well as one-time WWF tag champs as the Brainbusters. Both men also held TV title. Arn held the WCW tag titles multiple times with multiple partners as well after this duo parted ways. So, strong way to kick off representatives for this bracket. Next will be Briscoe brothers, the original Briscoe brothers, that is, Jack and Jerry Briscoe, three-time NWA tag champs. Jack, a former NWA world champion, WWE Hall of Famers. These two could not only beat you up, but drink you under the table too. Jack and Jerry Briscoe, had to get him in here. Next up, Doom. Hacksaw Butch Reed and Ron Simmons. They didn't have a long run, but man, they were impressive. Originally masked and managed by Woman, before unmasking, being managed by Theodore R. Long. They took the promotion by storm, beating the likes of the Horsemen, Steiners, Road Warriors, which not many men did back then. They were one-time NWA / WCW tag champs, and I say it that way as they were the reigning NWA tag champions when the company transitioned to WCW and thus became the first ever WCW tag champs. But it was all in the same reign. So that's why I say it's the NWA / WCW. But gotta have Doom. Next up, Bad Street USA, baby. Fabulous Freebirds, Jimmy Jam Garvin, Michael P.S. Hayes, and I'm only talking this version of the Birds. I know, the original Hayes, ran with Gordy and Roberts, but that was world class. We're not including world class here. But the duo version here, for this bracket, they were two-time WCW tag champs, as well as two-time US tag champs. Funny side note is they had an actual negative title reign technically during that. One of those runs was in negative days. And you're like, how do you have a negative day title reign? This was the day of a lot of pre-tapes. And they lost the titles at a TV taping to the Steiners before winning them off of Doom on a live pay-per-view. So at this TV taping, they come out as tag champs and lose to the Steiners. And then days after that, they actually win the tag titles because that match against the Steiners was going to be aired on tape delay. So it was just this. It was a funny point in time. Hall of Famers, Jimmy Jam, Michael P.S. Hayes. And then Harlem Heat, baby. Stevie Ray Booker T, 10-time WCW tag champs, WWE Hall of Famers. Booker's career after Harlem Heat landed him in the Hall of Fame as a solo act before the Tandem was inducted as well. They are the record holders for the most WCW tag title reigns. Now, can you dig that? Suckers! Next up, the Hollywood Blondes, Stunning Steve, Flying Brian. They are one-time WCW/NWA tag champs, and the reason I say it again that way, this was during a period of time when those titles were unified. They were a reluctant pairing at first, honestly, as Austin was coming off of a long run as TV champion and wanted to focus on a singles career, with eyeing the US, title. But, all of a sudden Pillman comes to him and said, "Hey, we're teaming together." And then, what started out, as a begrudging pairing turned it into something special. It was only a 5-month run. And then, Austin was actually upset when they decided to split them. But Pillman was legitimately injured. So they decided to end the pairing, and finally gave Austin a little bit of a singles push again. All in all, I think this Austin guy went on to have an okay career after this. Tragically, Pillman's ankle injury led to some addiction issues, which ended up cutting his life short. Gone way too soon. Jay Youngblood and Ricky Steamboat. This is a duo, that was ahead of their time. What I think of this team could have been if they had stayed together. Man, and was not long after they stopped tagging together that Youngblood tragically passed. Just 30 years of age, complication of sepsis, kidney failure, heart attacks as a result of hemorrhagic pancreatitis. I mean, just awful way to go. Way too young. Steamboat, long decorated career, winning world, US, IC, other tag title runs. And he actually wrestled his final match in 2022 at the age of 69 years old. So, Jay Youngblood, Ricky Steamboat, 5-time NWA tag champs, had to have him on here. The Midnight Express, baby. I'm talking the version of Sweet Stan Lane, Beautiful Bobby Eaton, managed by Jim Cornette. They were only one-time NWA tag champs, 2-time US tag champs, having actually held the US and world title simultaneously. Eaton would also hold tag gold with Arn Anderson in WCW as part of the Dangerous Alliance. Later in his career, was also a former TV champion as well, passing away relatively recently. Beautiful Bobby was fantastic, very underrated worker in the ring. But the Midnight Express, is definitely a team that needed to be on this bracket. Next up, a duo of the Miracle Violence Connection, Dr. Death Steve Williams, Terry Bam Bam Gordy. They came together first in All Japan, winning tag gold over in All Japan 5 times. Then they joined WCW, where they won the NWA tag titles and later unified them with the WCW tag titles. 2 tough as nails guys, gone way too young. Both have since passed away. So, but Williams and Gordy, gotta have them in here, man. Just 2 tough as nails dudes. Next up, the Minnesota Wrecking Crew, Ole and Gene Anderson. Looking at the lineage of these titles that we're talking about in this bracket, it starts with these 2 men. In 1975, they were 7-time NWA tag champs. Their 7 combined reigns total 992 days, which is 469 days more than the next closest team. we just recently lost Oli, but this is definitely old school team, but had to include him in here. Next up, it's time for nasty sensation. Get ready for Pity City. Jerry Saggs, Brian Knobs. They're the nasty boys. They got a bad reputation. Three-time WCW tag champs, one-time WWF. I just wonder though, where is the toughest place to grow up? Is it the dark side? Is it parts unknown? Is it Dudleyville? Is it Nastyville? That's an age-old question, kind of like the chicken and the egg. So, yes, the nasty boys. Next up, the outsiders. Big sexy Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, five-time WCW tag champs, one-time TNA tag champs. These men held singles gold as well as both men are former IC champs, all having won it four times. Nash was a world champion in both WCW and WWF. They're both two-time Hall of Famers. Hall and Nash were both inducted as individuals before both men were inducted as part of the New World Order. Uh, yep, outsiders. Rock and Roll Express, baby. Ricky Morton, Robert Gibson, six-time NWA World Tag Champs. And at 67 and 65, respectively, they're still going today. So who knows? They might have one more in them. Both men recently had involvement in AEW, so who knows what could happen here. They were inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2017. Also held the Smoky Mountain tag titles four times, and even defended those titles on a WWF pay-per-view in 1993. So the Rock and Roll Express, baby. The Road Warriors. Hawk and Animal with Precious Paul Ellering changed the face of pro wrestling. Their look and style was something that had never been seen before at that point in time. A team that was so over that their reactions coined a phrase, the Road Warrior Pop. They were one-time NWA tag champs, one-time AWA tag champs, two-time WWF. Their influence and impact on the business can't be understated. They were inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2011. What can really be said? But how about that? Yeah. Next up, Rick and Scott, the Steiner brothers, six-time WCW tag champs, one-time NWA, one-time US tag champs, two-time WWF tag champs, two-time IWGP tag champs, and actually the first Westerners to ever capture those titles. It tells you the esteem that these two men carry, that New Japan was willing to put those titles on them. They were 2022 WWE Hall of Fame inductees. The Dogface Gremlin, Big Papa Pump, left a lasting impact on this business. So, holla if you hear me. And the last team in this section of the bracket, the team of Sting and the total package, Lex Luger. They were one-time WCW tag champs as a duo, but arguably two men, if not on, but must definitely be considered for the Mount Rushmore of WCW. Sting, having just competed in his final match, just yesterday at the time of this recording. What a career the Stinger had. It was always Showtime when he was out there. An NWA's world champ, a WCW world champ, TV titles, US titles, TNA world titles, going out as an AEW tag champion as well. Just truly a legend. Luger, WCW world champion, multiple times, US champ, Royal Rumble co-winner, the True Total package. What a tandem. Next, we will go into the AEW / Ring of Honor bracket. And we'll kick it off with the Acclaimed, the 5-tool player Anthony Bowens, Platinum Max Caster, just one time AEW Tag Champs, current Trios Champs with Daddy Ass himself, Billy Gunn. The Acclaim has arrived. Scissor me, Daddy Ass. Next up, Adam Hangman Page, the Cleaner Kenny Omega, one time AEW Tag Champs. But both men are also former AEW World Champions. Omega has held Impact World Title, New Japan Gold as well. He was also a Trios champ on 2 different occasions with the Bucks. So, this is a bracket, between ROH and AEW. It was a little trickier to fill, as AEW is a newer company, so there won't be these, 6, 7, 8, time champions here. So, but next up, the American Wolves, Davey Richards and Eddie Edwards. They were 2-time ROH tag champs, 5-time TNA tag champs. Obviously, more success in TNA, but they were great in Ring of Honor too. And we needed to fill out this bracket, so I used them over here. They also were both former Ring of Honor world champions. Edwards was also a world champion in TNA as well. So the American Wolves had to get him in here. Next up, them boys and the face of Ring of Honor's tag division. It's the Briscoes, Jay and Mark. 13-time Ring of Honor tag champs, as well as 1-time IWGP and 1-time Impact. Just when the mainstream could have seen what these two really had, Jay was tragically taken in a car accident coming home with his kids. Just very, very sad. But can't have a Ring of Honor section of the bracket without the Briscoes. Kevin Steen and El Generico, as people know them nowadays, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, but this is the ROH bracket, so we got to use the old Kevin Steen, El Generico. They were 1-time Ring of Honor tag champs, and also 1-time undisputed WWE tag champs. Beyond this, both men highly decorated, Ring of Honor World Championships, NXT Championships, IC, US, Universal, still growing with their list of accomplishments. So, yeah. Next up, Living Legends, baby. FTR, Cash Wheeler and Dax Harwood, 2-time AEW tag champs, 1-time Ring of Honor, 1-time IWGP, 1-time AAA, 2-time NXT, 2-time Raw, 1-time SmackDown. A true tag team throwback and one of the most decorated teams in this tournament. And then look at that list. Success. Phenomenal. Next up, the Gorillas of Destiny, Tamatonga and Tungalao. 1-time Ring of Honor tag champs, 7-time IWGP tag champs. Would love this duo to sign with WWE or AEW. I'll be honest with you, I'd love to see them in a North American mainstream. Tama reportedly has signed with WWE, so we'll have to wait and see if that actually is true. Tonga previously worked in WWE as Camacho, so who knows? Maybe we'll see the Gorillas of Destiny one day on a mainstream North American promotion. Kingdom, uh, current and three-time Ring of Honor tag champs. That is the duo of Matt Taven and Mike Bennett with Maria Kanellis Bennett in their corner. Usually, the duo is also one-time IWGP, one-time Impact Tag Champs. Currently part of the Undisputed Kingdom with Adam Cole and Roderick Strong. So, see if this resume grows. Next up, the Kings of Wrestling. Now, this is part of the reason why the bar was left off. I had to fill in this bracket. The WWF/WWE one is stacked, and I needed to include the Kings of Wrestling. You know, Claudio Castagnoli, Chris Hero. What a duo. Two-time Ring of Honor tag champs, highly decorated, and two men that can go with anyone. I mean, Claudio is a recent Ring of Honor world champion as well. You know, what a tandem. Yep. Kings of Wrestling, second to none. Their theme song said it all. Next up, the Lucha Brothers. Penta El Sierra Miedo and Rey Phoenix, one-time AEW tag champs, one-time Impact tag champs, two-time AAA tag champs. I mean, these luchadors just, you know, set the bar at a high level. They were also trios champions as part of Death Triangle with Pac. So, yeah, great tandem here. Next up, it's Red Dragon, Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly, three-time ROH tag champs, two-time IWGP Junior tag champs, one-time NXT. These two can twist you in knots. I mean, O'Reilly recently returning to AEW last night, so see where his career goes. Bobby Fish currently working the Indies. We'd love to see these two come back together in AEW. To be honest with you, I think you know, some of the multi-tag matches that they could have right now in AEW between you know, like I said, the Lucha Brothers who are there, these guys, if they decided to come, the Hardys are there, FTR is there, the Bucks are there. I mean, there's a very underrated, I think, tag division in AEW. Controversial entry here, maybe by some, given the current real life situation, but needed to include the team of the Second City Saints, which was CM Punk and Colt Cabana. They were two-time ROH tag team champions. But, you know, both men held multiple titles over their careers across multiple promotions. In real life, these two former friends have had a legit fallout and are no longer on speaking terms. But, you know, the Second City Saints definitely need to be on a ROH tag team bracket. Um, SoCal Uncensored or SCU, the team of Frankie Kazarian, the Fallen Angel, Christopher Daniels, and Scorpio Sky. They were one-time and inaugural AEW tag champs, three-time ROH tag champs, two-time TNA tag champs. Daniels is now semi-retired. Kazarian's back in TNA, and Sky is MIA in AEW. So hey, Tony Khan, remember you got this guy on the roster. So next up, uh, War Machine, Bro, and Hanson. Today, many fans know them as the Viking Raiders, Eric and Ivar. Uh, Whatever you want to call them, they're butt kickers. Um, One-time ROH tag champs, two-time IWGP, one-time NXT, one-time Raw. Eric currently recovering from surgery, so Ivar is kind of rolling singles right now. But when talking ROH tag teams, gotta put War Machine in the mix there. Uh, Next up, wrestling's greatest tag team: Charlie Haas, Shelton Benjamin, two-time ROH tag champs. They were also two-time WWE tag champs as well. Duo having started working together as Team Angle before changing their name to the world's greatest tag team in WWE, and then going under Ring of Honor and becoming wrestling's greatest tag team. Shelton has had success in singles as well as tag, with other partners, but this original duo stands the test of time. I honestly don't think we've seen the last of Haas and Benjamin tagging together. I think they're going to pop up somewhere again at some point in time. And last but not least, for this bracket, the EVPs themselves, uh, the Young Bucks, Nicholas and Matthew Jackson. They are two-time AEW tag champs, three-time ROH, seven-time IWGP Junior tag champs, one-time IWGP tag champs, one-time AAA tag champs. They also are two-time AEW Trios champions with Kenny Omega. Yeah, it's the Bucks. They're one of the best in the biz right now. So, and then the last section of the bracket, like I said, the one that was the toughest to try and whittle down to just 16 teams, the WWF/WWF WWE, kicking it off with the Brothers of Destruction, uh, the Big Red Machine Kane, and the Phenom, The Undertaker. Two-time WWF Tag Champs, one-time WCW. Was under the WWF umbrella, of course. Do I really need to elaborate on these two Hall of Famer careers? It's Kane and the Undertaker. I mean, how can you have a WWF bracket without the Brothers of Destruction? Next up, Demolition, X, Crush, and Smash. Now, I know all three title wins were just by X and Smash, but Crush joined during that third title run and was considered a champion too, Freebird rule. And it was Smash and Crush that went on, to defend those, primarily during that third reign before they, lost them to the Heart Foundation. And a banger theme, an amazing run. It's Demolition. I wish it could have gotten a primed Demolition LOD feud in WWF when I was younger. It never really came to fruition. With Axe's health issues right shortly after LOD signed. And then we got Crush and Smash. And this is no knock to the late Brian Adams, but he was still pretty green then. Yeah, Axe was such a seasoned veteran, and really the ring general in there at that point in time. And Darso was a very underrated worker in his own right. So like those two, at their peak, LOD at their peak, oh, it could have been magic. But anyway, next will be the team of DX, and that is the Game Triple H and the Heartbreak Kid himself, HBK, Shawn Michaels. They were one-time unified tag champs. Yes, I say one-time unified because that was a point in time when the WWF World Tag Team titles and the WWE World Tag Team titles and the WWE Tag Team titles when you had your red and blue brand ones and they got unified. Um, at that point, it was the Cerebral Assassin, the King of Kings, Mr. WrestleMania. I mean, how can you not include this duo? Like I said, this was like this bracket's stacked. These Hall of Famers don't need me to elaborate or expound on their careers, world titles, European titles, IC titles. Uh, HBK, two-time Hall of Famer. Uh, Hunter, just one-time Hall of Famer, is part of DX right now, but definitely will be a solo inductee at some point. So, yep. Next, uh, Edge and Christian, uh, seven-time WWF Tag Champions. They've had world titles, IC titles. Um, Christian was an ECW champion as well. I mean, uh, went on was a NWA world champion in TNA. Um, and they're the team uh, that won all the classic TLC tag matches. So for the benefit of those with flash photography, there you go. Next up, uh, the Hart Foundation. Bret the Hitman Hart, Jim the Anvil Neidhart. I'm just talking the duo here. Um, they were two-time WWF Tag Champs, and they were one of the best teams, honestly, of my youth. I mean, they were just different from the other teams uh, at that point in time, as they were a complementary team. All right, they weren't two carbon copies of each other. You had Brett's smooth, crisp technical prowess juxtaposed with the Anvil's power. Kept teams off balance. It was poetry to watch in the ring. Like I said, other teams around that time frame, the Road Warriors, they were the same mold. The Rock and Roll Express, they were of the same mold. Demolition was of the same mold. The Rockers were of the same mold, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. These were guys that stood out because they kept their opponents off balance. Just when you started to kind of figure out Brett and then you tag in the Anvil, and now all of a sudden you got a power guy in there. It was great. They were 2019 Hall of Fame inductees as a duo. Obviously, Brett was a Hall of Famer prior to that, so he's a two-time Hall of Famer. Uh, the Heart Foundation. Next up, They Lie, They Cheat, They Steal. It's Los Guerreros, Latino Heat, Eddie Guerrero, and Chavo Guerrero. Uh, Two-time WWE Tag Champs. Like I said, they lied, they cheated, and they stole their way right into our hearts. They were supposed to be, heels, but they were just so entertaining. Um, Gotta love it. Eddie gone way too soon. Eddie is missed. Um, the Miz and John Morrison, Miz and Morrison. Um, you know, they were one-time WWE Tag Champs and a one-time SmackDown Tag Champs. Um, just a great heel tag team. Uh, these were two guys that you wanted to see lose, uh, but they just kept winning. They were so annoying. They played the heel role so well. Um, Great duo here. Both, you know, highly decorated outside of this. Miz, Grand Slam champion two times over. Morrison has multiple singles titles under his belt as well. IC, ECW, has been all over the place. Currently working in AEW. Just great duo. Um, Money Inc., the Million Dollar Man, Ted DiBiase, and IRS. They were three-time WWF World Tag Team Champions. IRLs held those titles on two other occasions prior as part of the U.S. Express. Uh, but outside of the $1 million belt, this was the only gold the $1 million Man held in WWF. That world title thing never really happened. And the North American title run that he had a decade prior, to this, that was the pre-millionaire gimmick. That was when he was just wrestling as Ted DiBiase. So that's why I said this was the $1 million Man's only, gold was tag gold. So, Hall of Famer, DiBiase, Rotunda should be in the Hall of Fame. I don't know why he's not, but hopefully someday soon. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, D Generation X proudly brings to you its six-time WWE Tag Team Champions of the World, the Road Dogg Jesse James, the Badass Billy Gunn, the New Age Outlaws. I mean, nothing else really needs said. Uh, Hall of Famers as part of DX. The Guns, uh, held tag titles as well. He also held tag gold as part of Billy and Chuck. But the Outlaws were game changers. Uh, you you're something special when there are rules named after you. I mean, you got the Freebird rule. You also got the Outlaw rule. When you have those, uh, you know, triple threat tags and four-way tags and everything like that, where they first did that, and then the Outlaws were both tagged in, and the one laid down, let the other one pin them so that they could retain. And then you got the Outlaw rule, so now you're not allowed to do that. So but genius when it happened. So yeah, the New Age Outlaws. There aren't many great teams, honestly, that start with new. The New Rockers, not great. The New Blackjacks, not great. The New Age Outlaws, they were great. Who else was great? The New Day. You got Xavier Woods, Big E, and Kofi Kingston. One of the most charismatic and entertaining teams uh, in the history of WWE. Uh, Two-time WWE Tag Champs, two-time Raw, seven-time SmackDown, one-time NXT, second longest reign in WWE history. But singles gold by two of these three men as well. Xavier's single success though in his own right, King of the Ring winner. So just the entertaining duo, trio, faction, whatever you want to call them. They're the New Day. I mean, what else can you say? Next up, Owen Hart and the British Bulldog. Um, they were one-time WWF Tag Champs. This is why the British Bulldogs and then Owen's other combos with Jarrett and Yoko were just honorable mentions. Some might argue with me on this, but to me, this combo was amazing. It was beyond underrated. It was during that Hart Foundation faction time frame, and was that Hart Foundation faction was carrying all the gold. Brett was world champ. Owen had the IC. Davey had the European. Then they won the tag belts. This was just a great combo. And probably one of, if not, is one of the best tag teams of that new generation era. Pre-Attitude Era, this was it. So speaking of that new generation time frame, our next entry comes from there as well, and that is the duo of the Quebecers, Jacques and Pierre. They were three-time WWF Tag Champs. Honestly, they were probably the most successful tag team of that new generation era. With those three title reigns, and pretty lengthy reigns as well when you add it all up. They kind of dominated the tag title scene in that new generation era. Next up, the Rock and Sock Connection, uh, Mankind, and The Rock, three-time WWF Tag Champs, and probably one of the most entertaining combinations to come along in a long time. I mean, who could forget the Rock, This Is Your Life segment uh, there? That was just great. Also, Mr. Rocco, which was a sock with the Rock's face painted on it. So he had Mr. Sacco and Mr. Rocco. Oh God, the sunglasses falling off and Foley picking them up because Rock wasn't going to do it. Great moments. But yeah, Rock and Sock Connection. The Shield. Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns. They held WWE tag titles once, with Seth and Roman, and then Seth and Dean held the Raw tag titles twice. All three of these men have been or are currently on the summit. Roman is in the midst of the longest heel run as champion in WWE history. Seth had one of the most iconic Money in the Bank cash-ins ever seen. Dean, multiple single success in WWE and outside. Currently, wrestling as John Moxley, former AEW champion, multiple times, had success over in Japan. The Shield needed to be included. And then you got the Usos. Jay and Jimmy Uso, two-time WWE Tag Champs, five-time SmackDown, one-time Raw. They were the team that unified the tag titles as they're currently at now. They set a record for the longest tag reign in WWE history at 622 days. Welcome to the Uso Penitentiary. And last but not least, the OGs, the Wild Samoans, Sika and Afa, three-time WWF Tag Champs. They were so feared back in the late 70s, early 80s. Inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2007. They helped set the groundwork for the Samoan dynasty. It was a combination of them and High Chief that really kind of put that Samoan dynasty on the map. So couldn't have a WWF, WWF, WWE bracket without these guys on it. I know I said that a couple of times now, but it bears repeating. So all that said, let's look at the actual bracket. Boom, there you have it. Like I said, random seating. You got New Day, Money Inc., Ms. Morrison, Demolition, Brothers of Destruction and the Samoans, Heart Foundation and DX, Usos and Outlaws, Rock and Sock and Guerreros, Quebecers, Bulldog and Owen, The Shield, with Edge and Christian. In the ECW TNA bracket, you got the Dudleys and OBE, you got Machine Guns, and Public Enemy, Impact Players in the North, Beer Money, Sabu and RVD, Hardy's against Dream and Raven, Decay against VBD, LAX and Gangsters, the Eliminators and the Good Brothers. Around that NWA WCW side of things, you got Harlem Heat, the Minnesota Wrecking Crew, the Birds and the Blondes, both Expresses, Tully and Arn and the Road Warriors, the Outsiders, the Steamboat Youngblood, Doom, and Briscoe Brothers, Sting and Luger, Gordian Williams, Nasties, and the Steiners. And then down the ROH AEW one, you got the Bucks and the Saints, Generico and Steen, Kings of Wrestling, Red Dragon, SCU, and FTR against the Kingdom, Acclaimed, Luchas, Briscoes against Page and Omega, War Machine against the Gorillas, Possum Benjamin, and the Wolves. So, that's the way the round one. So, this is probably the easiest round to kind of figure out who should advance. So here's round two, and then I'll explain, as you see who advanced. So New Day over Money Inc. Combo numbers, not knowing which two, the overall athleticism, et cetera, is why they went on. Demolition over Miz and Morrison. Miz and Morrison have had issues. They broke up and feuded. Demolition never did that. Brothers of Destruction over the Samoans. This would have been something to see with both in their prime. Talk about a slobber knocker, but got to go with Candy Taker here. Heart Foundation over DX, another burner. Again, HBK, Triple H, having had their differences multiple times in the past, good friends, better enemies kind of thing. Heart Foundation, yeah, they had some issues, Anvil and Hitman, but I still put them over here. Usos over the Outlaws. Guerreros over Rock and Sock. Hey, they cheated. Bulldog and Owen over Quebecers. ENC over the Shield. Again, I think the conflict between the members of the Shield, rears its head. I know ENC have had their issues too, but I think they keep together for round one here. So next section, Dudley's over OVE. It's kind of an easy one there. Machine Guns over Public Enemy, another pretty easy one. North over Impact Players. Beer Money over RVD and Sabu. I mean, RVD and Sabu, great team, but Beer Money just a little more cohesive. Hardy's over Dreamer and Raven. I think, Raven would turn on Tommy. Decay over VBD. I think VBD would kind of implode. LAX over Gangsters, and the Good Brothers over the Eliminators. Harlem Heat over the Minnesota Wrecking Crew. Blondes over the Birds. Rock and Roll over Midnight. Road Warriors over the Horsemen. Outsiders over Steamboat and Youngblood. Briscoe over Doom. Again, I think Doom's history here would end up being what cost them. I think the brothers would, obviously would stick together, and then Reed and Simmons would have that miscommunication kind of thing like in the past. Hayes and Gordy over Sting and Luger. Sting and Luger didn't have the long time together, quite the cohesion, even though they were good friends in real life. In terms of a team, I don't think they would have had the cohesion to get past Gordy and Williams. Steiner's over the Nasties. I mean, let's face it, they had that Steiner-Nasty feud in the early 90s, and the Nasties could never get past the Steiners. So Bucks over the Saints. Kings of Wrestling over Steen and Generico. Steen and Generico have feuded before, so they have, they could kind of do something there. Red Dragon over SCU, FTR over the Kingdom. I think that would be a banger. We might actually see that here, soon. Um, where are we at? Luchas over the Acclaimed. Briscoes over Page and Omega, Gorillas of Destiny over War Machine, and American Wolves over Wrestling's Greatest Tag Team. And a close one there. And now that takes us to the Sweet 16. For there, New Day over Demolition. Hearts over Brothers of Destruction. Kane turns on Taker. It's happened so many times. So Usos over Guerreros. Maybe the Guerreros get caught cheating this time and are DQ'd. ENC over Owen and Bulldog. Dudley's over Machine Guns. North over Beer Money. Hardy's over Decay, and Good Brothers over LAX. Harlem Heat over the Blondes. Road Warriors over Rock and Roll. Jerry and Jack over the Outsiders. Steiner's over Gordy and Williams. Bucks over Kings of Wrestling. FTR over Red Dragon and a burner. Briscoes over Lucha Brothers. Gorillas of Destiny over the Wolves. So we're now at the Elite Eight. So New Day moves on. Anvil turns. ENC. ENC moves on. Jimmy turns. Dudley's move on. Hardy's move on. Road Warriors move on. Steiner's move on. FTR moves on. And the Briscoes move on. So now we are at the final four. So you got the New Day moving on. Christian finally turns. The Dudleys move on as Matt breaks and deletes brother Nero. And then the Steiners get past the Road Warriors. Just more athletic. And FDR slips one past the Briscoes. So that was our final four, which then takes us to our finals after this. So to advance to the finals, it's the New Day and FTR. I think, the New Day number game gets him past the Dudleys. FTR finds a way to get past the Steiners, maybe. Big Papa Pump turns on Rick there. It's happened before, could happen again. So our finals is New Day and FTR. And the winner, in my opinion, here, FTR. Top guys out. So my reasoning, they're just more well-traveled. They've been champions in multiple promotions, exposed to more, in terms of styles and stuff. They've held, tag gold everywhere they've been. The New Day, all their success, as much success that they have had, it's all WWE. So for that reason, I put FTR here in a close one. So, I mean, like I said, this was a crazy thing to do. It was very difficult. And I'm sure that many people are going to disagree with a lot of what I did here. If you do, I'd like to hear from you. So, give me your opinions here. Who were teams that you felt should have been included in the actual bracket that I didn't. Maybe out of my honorable mentions, maybe ones that I didn't even mention. I'm not perfect, but who is? So give us a like, a share, subscribe, wherever you are. Hope you're doing well. Take care of one another, and I'll see you all when I see you.